today I'm going to show you guys how to restring a Floyd Rose-equipped guitar using a few tips and tricks I've learned through the years doing it myself. So for starters, you want to have a flat surface. It can be a table, a countertop, even a bench. As long as it's flat, it'll make it way easier on you while you do this. Okay, so as far as tools, all I have here today is a string winder. Makes it easier to tune up, tune down, put the strings on, take them off. Comes in handy, saves you a little time. A set of wire cutters, and they come in different shapes and sizes. As long as it gets the job done, that's all that matters. And you don't necessarily have to have a set of these on hand, but I do, just in case. And that's a pair of needle nose pliers. They come in handy in a lot of different ways. You never know when you might need them. And also, normally I'd have an Allen wrench, to adjust the Floyd or unlock the nut up here, the little screws. But same thing, I have a tip that's the same diameters of a Allen wrench that you'd normally use. So pretty much the same thing, just makes it a little bit easier on me. And I have a pin, and what I use that for is to block off the Floyd to keep it from going down the cavity from the springs being on there after you take the strings off. You can use just about anything, just keep in mind you don't want to put something under there that's going to scratch the finish on your guitar. Just as long as it does the job, just be careful with it, because it can scratch things. Normally a ruler or something wooden, something like that would work great, but this is all I had and it will work. And last but not least, I play Elixir OptiWeb 1052s, and that's what I'm going to be using for this video today. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Alright, let's get started. So first thing you want to do is get the old strings off, and there are ways you can do this to keep them intact, where you could use them in case you break a string or something like that, or put them on another guitar with a Floyd on it. But for this video, I'm going to clip them, and I'll show you how to properly do it to where you don't mess up, your truss rod or crack your neck or whatever else bad could go wrong. And we'll show you how to keep that from happening. So for starters, you want to take your Allen wrench or screwdriver with the bit in it that fits it, and release the locking nut, all the screws on it. And you can go ahead and take them off and set them to the side. That way they'll be out of the way while you're changing strings. And set them right here. Alright, normally on a guitar that doesn't have a Floyd, you would take your string winder, or by hand, and detune it completely, then remove the strings. But the way I'm going to show you right now should keep your neck from doing something weird or cracking or whatever. You just want to make sure you release the tension before you clip strings like this. Normally people would advise against it, but it's a lot quicker this way, and the way I'm going to show you is a lot safer. So for one, you want to dump the bar and just hold it. Take your wire cutters and start clipping away. Just be very careful when you do it. They like to fly everywhere, so make sure you got a good set of wire cutters. Mine are kind of worn out. Alright, all 6 of them have been clipped. And like I said earlier, I have a pin for this, but you could use a ruler or something that would not damage your finish. Just place it under the Floyd, like so. See, it's not going anywhere. It's just about even and level too. Okay, so either or, you just want to get what's left of the strings off the guitar. I'm going to start at the headstock. And you always want to be careful with the smaller strings. They can prick your finger. We've all been there. Feels terrific. I'm kidding. Alright. Headstock is free. Alright, for this part, if you have your Allen wrench or screwdriver like I do, just kind of sit there. I do them one at a time and release each individual string. Or you could do all 6. It don't matter. But for now I'm just going to do one at a time. Let's see. And you don't have to back it off too far, just enough for the string to come out, unless you're going up a few string sizes. You have to have a little bit more slack in there so you can put the thicker string in. But the way I'm doing it, you just have to back it off a little bit because I'm using the same gauge string. Like I said, you can do these individually or just go ahead and back them off all just a little bit. Sometimes they just don't want to let go. Alright. The old strings are off the guitar. Now if you want to, you can kind of polish everything up, clean your guitar. Mine's not in too bad a shape, but this is where you would go about the cleaning process. And I'll post a different video later about how to maintain your axe properly. Alright, so everything's off, all the old strings, and let's go ahead and get our new ones out. Alright, the way I do it, I start at the low end with the 52. And be careful when you do this. I've done it a lot. I just kind of whip it to get the string out. Alright, now I have seen people take the ball end and put it through the headstock, through the tuning peg, and not clip it. And I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying I've never done that method, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Take your wire cutters, and you see where the string winding stops, right about there. Always clip right after it. Just like that. And then you take that where you just clipped it and you tuck it right down in here on the low E. You just want to make sure it hits the bottom of the saddle like that. And then I go ahead and tighten it up. Just like so. Alright, normally on guitars that don't have a Floyd rose, I would tell you to send the string straight through the tuning peg and tune up from there. But when it comes to Floyd roses, I like to wrap it 3 times. You go like this, go ahead and send it through past the tuner, wrap it 2 or 3 times. You know, thicker string's a little bit harder to wrap, more than a couple rounds. Just as long as you have a little bit extra there. And the reason I do that is because with these Floyd Rose guitars, if your string breaks, 9 times out of 10, it's going to break somewhere in here, you know, from you playing, giving it whammy action. Doing this allows you a little bit extra slack, so when it breaks like that, you unlock it and just unwrap it once or twice, pull the string, and you can tuck it right back down the saddle. It's like you never even broke the string. But in order to do that, you have to wrap it a couple extra times. Alright, that was the low E. Now we're moving on to the A string. Same thing. You want to clip it right where the wrapping stops, down here on the ball end. And do the same thing with this one. Tuck it down the saddle. Make sure it touches bottom. And tighten it on up. If you notice, I'll kind of dump the bar a little bit to get, you know, the pressure off the back of these, you know, so I can go ahead and tighten it. Might not have to do that, but every now and then you do. And once again, same thing with this string. Go ahead and wrap it 2-3 times. At least 2. You know, if you can get it 3 rounds, go for it. And you send it over the top of what you wrapped. Send the string through the tuning peg. Helps if you can see better. I got bad lighting right now. go. Alright, moving on. D-string. Once again, you want to clip it just like I did the other two. Tuck it in the saddle. You don't want to over tighten these. I have had saddles bust. Of course, they were cheaply made, the made in Korea ones. You just want to get it nice and snug. Don't overdo it. Same thing with this one. Try to get it 2-3 rounds wrapped around there. And send it through the top of the peg over the string that wrapped. Alright. Moving on to the G string. No pun intended. Same thing. Now, of course, the thin 3 strings, they aren't wrapped. It's just a bare string. You want to do the same thing though. Clip it right where that wrapping ends. Once again, tuck it in the saddle. Get it nice and snug. Don't kill it. And these are the ones where you really want to try to get at least 2 or 3 wraps in, because 9 times out of 10 it's going to be one of your thinner strings that breaks, unless you're a riff monster and break your lower strings. I've seen it happen. Even seen them break in some really weird, unexplainable ways. That's why we wrap like this, to have excess string just in case, so you can save the string instead of having to throw it out. Alright, moving on to the B string. Same thing, clip it right where the wrapping ends. Get it nice and snug down in there. Tighten it up a little. Try to wrap it 2 or 3 times. And last but not least, the tiniest of them all, the high E. Okay, go ahead and tighten it, get it nice and snug in there. And once again, you don't want to tighten it too much, especially on these thinner strings, because you can actually break the string. It's almost like a set of wire cutters if you tighten it too much. Alright. Normally, you would wait to clip these after you're done tuning up. You know, your guitar's in tune and set up. But if you want, you can go ahead and clip these. Just make sure you don't clip it too short, because it can slip. I don't know if you can see that, but that's normally about how long I leave them. You can get it shorter than that if you want. That's all 6 of those clipped. Alright, for this part, once again, you've got something sitting here to keep your bridge pretty level. And normally, if you maintain the same string gauge, when you tune up, it should level out just about even. But if you're going up or down with string gauges, you got to keep in mind, think of like a teeter-totter at a playground. This is basically like a center point, and if you turn these, tune it up, it's going to pull it this way, it's going to go down. And on the back, you have your springs, and if you use your adjustment screws right here, it's going to pull it the opposite direction. It's going to go that way. So once you have a specific type of gauge that you use and you got it set up, it should balance out about even just about every time. But if you go up a gauge, you're going to have to tweak it. If you go down, you're going to have to tweak it too. A little bit of a science to it. Alright, so get all this out the way. String winder, you don't have to have one, but it helps. And keep in mind, I tuned down a whole step to D standard, so that's where I'm going to have mine tuned to. Pretty close. Go ahead and do the A string after that. D string, G. You want to get it close before you start fine tuning. Now a lot of times when you do start getting it close to your tuning, whatever you have under here might slip out. Still pretty snug on my end. But once again, you just want to try to get it close. And then go ahead and remove it. And that's pretty close right there. And if you want, get you a decent tuning app. I have one that I use on my phone. I use Sound Corset, and it has a built-in metronome, tuner, and everything all in one. Like I say, I tuned down a whole step to D standard. Pretty close. Like I said, mine's already set up basically, but you might tune differently, whether it's higher or lower. But a little trick to help your strings get broken in, because one thing these Floyds, or any guitar actually, loves to do when you get a new set of strings is they love to stretch. And a little trick I've always used, you got to bend them, you know, and this is before I put the locking nut on. I always start, you know, about midways. I grab it like this, both hands, and you just try to bend the string like this. And it's going to go out of tune when you do it. It's okay. Just got to tune it right back up. try to do it in between while you're stretching it. Try to keep it where it needs to be, roughly, before you fine tune everything. And you do want to try to stretch it right around here, by the saddle and the headstock, both in front of and behind the nut. Just be careful when you get up here, you can prick your finger from the strings being cut off. So that's your low E. Now on to the A, same thing. What this does, it stretches the string so it doesn't do it later on its own accord. This actually helps it stay in tune way better, especially after putting a new set of strings on. On to the D. Always want to be careful around the headstock doing this. On to the G. Now to the B string. You want to be careful with these thinner strings on the high end, because you can bend them too much and break them. You don't want to do that. Once again, be careful around the headstock. You can prick your fingers. And last but not least, your high E. This one's scary because it's thinner, but it's okay. Don't be afraid of the string. And after that, you should be pretty much in tune. And let's see if I can show you. I don't know if you can see from there, but my Floyd Rose is just about flush with the body, and it's level. You want your Floyd to be level. And once again, the easiest way to do that, tune up using your tuners, or reach back here and use your adjustment screws. Like I said, it's like a teeter-totter. It's going to go one of two ways. This pulls it back this way, tuners pull it that way. And also, when it comes to different gauges and string sizes, it really matters how many springs you put on there. The more you put, the more tension there's going to be for your whammy bar, and also how much is being pulled back this way. For 10 gauge strings, I've always used 3 springs. For 8s and 9s, I always tried to use 2. So in a way, the thicker you go, the more of these you need. I always use 3 though, because like I say, most of my guitars have these 10s on them, 1052 set, like your Octaweb. So it's basically just a balancing act. And like I said, keep in mind every time you change string gauges, even if it's the same gauge with a different brand, say you play Ernie Ball and you go to Dunlop, you might have to tweak your adjustments, because it's kind of like shoes or any other thing. You know, different brands respond differently, different thicknesses and such like that. So last but not least, you want to put your nut back together with the screws. And a lot of people have different ways of doing this, but I'm going to show you how I do it. You could start in the middle, tightening the D and G. You don't want to over tighten these because your nut could bust or break. But also you could strip out the threads. You don't want that. You don't want to over tighten it. And keep in mind too, once you get it in tune, or at least very close, you want to try to leave you some slack on your fine adjustment screws. That way, once it's locked down, you can tune up or down a little bit. And a lot of people, myself included, on your low E, you back this, or get it pretty snug. That way, if you want to go to drop D, you just back this adjustment screw off real far, and it drops it to, drop D, or in my case, drop C. But I'm not doing that right now. But anyway, that's pretty close, and I guess you would call it a stress test. Dump the bar, play with it, give it some action. Pretty close. Didn't go out of tune drastically, and that's mainly because I stretched the strings after I put them on. And it's okay if it goes a little bit out of tune, because like I say, new strings do that. But if you do the little trick I showed you where you stretch them individually, it should help it stay in tune a lot better. But once again, I hope you learned something from this that I've learned along the way thus far. And if you guys have any comments or anything you'd like to let me know, or suggestions or questions, anything of that sort, drop it in the comment, let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I appreciate it, all the support, and I hope, this was helpful. I enjoyed throwing this together for you guys, and once again, thank you for the support. Like, comment, share, subscribe, get it out there. Appreciate it.